Now, when we look at the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq, it's absolutely gorgeous. For instance, we look at what's taking place. You're essentially continuing this higher low trend. Now, I have my concerns when it comes to the DXY and yields, but the more important question here is the resilience that's taking place, okay? That's what is really intriguing to me. And I mentioned yesterday a little bit, right? Now, again, the dollar moving like this where it mounted the 200 SMA for a little bit, going on to today and you lose it again, concerning. But again, you're getting rejected so far at the 200. You go down into yields, you are above the 200 and it hasn't pulled back at all in comparison to the dollar here. That's a few things to take into account. But when we look at the Nasdaq, I'm telling you, the amount of times that we've pushed below 16.8 and buyers continue to hold you above this, right? Look at what takes place here. Again, we've seen countless rejections, right? Where you push down and reject to the back to the upside, push back to the upside, over and over and over. You can also see our liquidity levels, our blocks coming in here too, right? Just showing up where buyers continue to, show that resilience, right? And again, we're just not seeing the continuation to the downside. Now, again, what have I been saying? We look at, what's happening here on Nasdaq. Above 16.8, you have to be bullish. Below it, through 16.8 to 16.6, you're not optimistic, but you're kind of in this just range, right? They're in indecision. You get below 16.6, you're bearish, right? But again, it's important to understand where we're bouncing, right? Again, on this higher low trend here on the daily 4 hour, whatever you want to be looking at here. Now you're getting a little bit of a pinch action kind of like taking place here. However, this, is very interesting, right? The fact that sellers aren't able to capitalize on what they've been using, the past few months. If we, go back in time and we look at what pushed us down here, it was the dollar in yields, right? And so when I look at how we're reacting here, it leads me to be very intrigued by the opportunity of if the dollar does retreat and how are hedge funds really attacking this market and how do they visualize this market to move, okay? You look at this action. When you start to lose faith, you just get re-encouraged here. Again, what happened with the Nasdaq today? I mean, you rejected pretty tough. You pushed down, I'm looking, like at lows of 16.68, down almost into 16.6, and then shot back up. Now, you had your beige book today come out. And the beige book, just to summarize, basically said jobs are cooling, right? Essentially what the Fed has stated that they want. Jobs to either stay strong or just relax to where they're at, which they are. Prices to come down. That's what again, no matter how we view this, how we look at it, right? If the data that the Fed says they want continues to come out, you have to look at them from the market perspective. It's like, what can push you down? Now, we do have tech earnings. Okay, you have tech earnings coming up starting next week. Okay, that's number one. Number two, you have in 2 weeks from today, the 31st of January, you do have your last rate decision for the next 60 days. Okay. So you won't have a rate decision in February. The next one will be in March. So I do believe this next Fed meeting will be pretty important. So going over the next 10 days, you got a lot of stuff to kind of be building onto. But then I look at Nasdaq and I'm just like, man, is it possible that you're consolidating before you get the next big break? Right. And that leads me back into some of these equities we've been talking about. And I'm like, man, there might be some pretty big opportunities that we have to talk about. But of course, before we talk about those, consider liking and subscribing because I post videos for you Monday through Friday, every single day around 5 o'clock, 5:30. Who counts, right? Who counts, right? Also, the Twitter link is down below so you can see all my updates throughout the day. Get in a little bit early, get a little bit of updates like that. Discord sold out. So again, I'm sorry. Don't shoot the messenger. Stop emailing me, by the way. Tomorrow, again, what I'm going to be watching really close is can we hold this overall trend? Will the dollar stay pushing down? Will it hold below the level here of the daily 200 SMA? Okay. Zooming into the 2 hour, you can also see what's kind of taking place here. We can also see if we push back down to the range, how aggressive do sellers take place here? So again, overnight, something that I'd be watching. Okay, you can obviously see here from our, again, if you're interested in what these indicators are, what we're looking at, the liquidity levels, again, the the buy, what's happening here, our volume indicators. It's from our sponsor, Chart Prime. Again, check them out. The link is down below. Never feel pressured, but again, that's where you get all of our custom indicators, things along those lines. Now, going into yields, the 30 years is the one I'm caring about the most. Again, resilience is what I will describe this as, right? You're sitting high, okay? Now, the question, though, is do you top out in this range here? Okay, that's the major question. You can see this is a hot liquidity level. So you want to see if we're going to start rejecting back down. Okay, we want to see the reaction here overnight as well. Okay, again, what we do know is over the past few weeks and months, when the dollar and the yields have risen, it's caused weakness on the market. Lately, there's been resilience through that. Also, too, though, it's worth mentioning, even though yields and the dollar are going up, we're kind of stagnating. But when the yields and dollar drop, we're still seeing the strength. So this is kind of a really interesting position that we're sitting in, and I'm definitely happy with how we're reacting here. Now I'm going to go over some equities that we're looking at, but again, just really quick, we're talking about SPY and what I'm looking at exactly here. Okay, so on SPY, really quick, the massive level you want to hold is right here, like 471.3. It's kind of like a little line in the sand that you have here, your intraday chart. Your other low here, if you break below that, I'm targeting like 468, 467.8, give or take. Now, you're really bullish if we hold above 476, roughly, okay? That's right there. Qs, the line in the sand where you're really bullish, you love the upside opportunity, is holding above 408.9, 408.8. You love that area there as well, again. And you have a little bit of liquidity level where you're getting rejected, but again, I think this is the major level you got to hold above. You look very strong above that. And so what you're really looking for here, too, is to get back above 70K on Nasdaq. So all that's really clear. You understand that. Okay, now, equities. Now, again, like I mentioned yesterday, right? You have some strong names. You have some not so strong names. Okay, so let's start with the strong ones. NVIDIA. This was interesting. We mentioned this a lot in Discord today. Okay, you broke below 560. You immediately went and tested your 551. And then actually, it's crazy that you had your level here, your little block formed out here too. Mentioned from Chart Prime is where you came and bounced from. Okay, now you're bouncing back up. You love to see it. You can also see how you mounted above the VWAP as we pull it up here. You can see mounts above the VWAP for the rest of the day. Now, what I'm looking from here from NVIDIA to get some continuation, can you hold above 560, 561? You hold that, you look really good back into the upside there. So NVIDIA, definitely watching it. Really great reaction so far. You want to get out of this little, lower high trend that you're forming out here on higher time frames. But still, you break above 560 and hold 561. You love it. Upside looks pretty great, right? Next up, Microsoft. This is the one that I have. I ended up grabbing one contract of this for February 16th before the end of the day, just because of how you held 16.8. The fact that you're holding 16.8 so strong and that you probably trapped sellers below it, pretty great. Now, where you want to see in Chart Prime makes the liquidity level very easy to see here, right? You can see it very easily at 390.7, okay? So again, that's the confirmation level. So the best trade you're going to be able to get is a break, retest, and then push back up. That's what you want to see. Again, I got aggressive down here like a 387.8, 388, just because I liked what was taking place and where you're at. I recognize the trend that was taking place there, and you're grinding above the 90, the VWAP and making higher lows. So I did like that. I got aggressive. Yes, I know, broke some rules, but yeah, when I win, I tend to get a little bit more aggressive. But that's how we're playing on here. So I do like Microsoft, one of my favorite names. I love the resilience. Love how you bounced. You almost had a perfect retest of 384. Congratulations if you bought down here, dude. What a legend! Like I literally. Gladiator, we salute you, right? Absolutely beautiful. Only real ones will understand that line. Those are my favorite strong names. And something that I continue to say, if you're not following on Twitter, I recommend doing so. Again, you want to focus on the strong names if you're going long. If you're going short, like I mentioned here on Boeing, right? When I talked about Boeing the first time, these contracts were at roughly $5 a contract, the 220s, okay? Fast forward to today. Right, and they actually got to a better value. They were at $16, and this is for January 26th. And then there was some for February 16th. You can go on a laundry list of names, okay? Over and over, so many different names you could trade it. Either way, I traded Boeing to the downside because it was an inherently weak name. So when I'm trying to short, I don't try to short the strongest names. All of you guys, should I be, NVIDIA, it's topped. Microsoft, it's topped. Guys, if anyone had a special indicator to mark out where the top was, they'd be a multi-quadrillionaire, okay? Every hedge fund would be using their software and yeah, right? Okay, So stop trying to predict the top. Stop trying to predict the bottoms. What you want to do is play what the market gives you. You want to mount the key levels, things along those lines. Again, take what is given to you. Don't take what you think you can get. Okay, take what is sitting there right in front of you. Those are my favorite upside names. Now, downside. Okay, I really liked Tesla. You got the 212. We had so many 212 tests here. We had a little scalp on the day to the downside, but you just held 212 too strong. Okay. Tesla, again, you look decent. You're mounting 214. As long as you're above 214, you're looking for that retest back into 217, 218. Okay. What I'll tell you here. Be on the lookout for this stupidity that's out there. Everyone's posting it. Everyone and their mama. They're all posting. And dude, this thing, it hurts my head. Okay. Let me get rid of everything. I'm getting rid of everything on my chart so you can see just what the stupidity that they're drawing. And maybe it plays out. Maybe I look like a fool and I'll call myself out as an idiot. For some reason, people are calling this a inverse head and shoulder. Maybe. Sure. Maybe. Right? My computer doesn't even want this on my screen. It's so ugly. Your neckline isn't clear. Really, your neckline should be right here. It's not. It's ugly. But most of all, guys, why not just wait, right? Why not wait to get some confirmation above the 200 SMA on the daily? If this is a head and shoulders, you still have $30 more of upside just to the neckline. If you break out of the neckline and get the expected move, you'll push over $300. Again, be patient. Take what is on the table. And again, I think that I've pointed a very clear thesis here about what's happening on most of these names. But again, you're below the 200 SMA on the weekly as well. Like, just be patient. If you're patient, I promise, great things usually happen. And I don't just try to say like nonsense. I try to like have logic and reason behind most things I say. There's not a lot of equities I'm pointing out there. You aren't above 17K on Nasdaq yet, so I'm not overtly bullish there. I still have all those same concerns I mentioned from yesterday. If the dollar continues to move to the upside, if yields continue to track to the upside, again, there are concerns. But based on the beige book, based on the reaction from the beige book, I like the upside. It looks decent, right? If you get back below 16.8, I'll cut my positions. I'll be out of it. I don't really care. But again, that's what I'm looking at there. But all I can really encourage you guys to do is have patience, right? I think Tesla is a great example. Everyone continues to point out these crazy charts. People were calling out this stupid head and shoulders or inverse head and shoulders when you were at 220. And they're like, oh, well, it's still here. We're at 214 now. Like, what are we talking about? When does it get invalidated, right? Again, all these people on social media like to just throw ideas at you, get the clicks, get the views. And the views are cool. I have some clickbait sometimes. But when it comes to the content, when it comes to the trade ideas, I try to be as honest and straightforward as possible. I don't think anyone's ever been able to say, Tyler lied. He clickbaited us there. He totally lied about his position. He falsified. He scammed us. He pumped and dumped us. Never. Never has that ever happened to me. Never on Twitter. Never, ever, ever. Okay? So I try to be as honest as possible when it comes to that. And I like that to be what kind of like dictates the value of the channel. But the one thing I'll say here, and I pointed it out, if you're patient, you don't have to buy the bottom. You never have to. Very rarely do I buy the bottom. But again, we're still able to capture those moves to the upside and to the downside. Why? Because we have a plan. We have what we're looking for. We know exactly what we're looking for before we get into it. We know exactly what consists of a good, valuable trade versus a risky, gamble, right? When we win, we don't say, thank God, right? That was lucky, right? That's not what we do. We're like, awesome, the plan worked. Our notes, why we lost previously, what we missed out before, were a great thing to move back into this trade, and that we were able to build on that, right? And what we did with this trade, we can probably apply to another trade, and we can look at the same trade again, maybe down the line, right? Everything should build on top of each other. You should never say, wipe your head full of sweat and be like, thank God we got out of that trade. Occasionally, yeah, that will happen. But a bulk of your trades should be understood beginning to end, and you should be able to have a clear understanding of the risk that's established there. The rant's over. Love you guys. See you tomorrow.